Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is our live information session providing an overview of St. Bonaventure University Online's Master of Arts in Integrated Marketing Communications degree program. Before I introduce our panelists and speakers for you today, I would like to go over a couple of quick notes. Today's event is being recorded for future viewing. We will be emailing out the recording to you within 48 hours of today's webinar. You will also be able to access the recording on our website, online.sbu.edu. You are currently in a listen-only broadcast mode. Only our panelists are unmuted and able to speak. If you have questions, please type them in the questions box in the GoToWebinar window and click Send. We will have a Q&A session with our panelists after the presentation. Feel free to type your questions in during the presentation, and we will address them accordingly during the Q&A session. We are joined today by a great group of panelists. We have three featured speakers today, starting with Dr. Pauline Hoffman, Dean of St. Bonaventure University's Giandoli School of Communication, Dr. Richard Lee, Director of the Integrated Marketing Communications Program at SBU, and Shelley Jack, Professor in the IMC program at St. Bonaventure University. We are also joined by two members of our online admissions advising team, Kristin Lefevre and Gina Heimbecker. My name is Joe Maselli, and I will be your moderator today. Before I turn the presentation over to our panelists, I'd like to quickly go through our agenda for today's session. We will start with Kristin Lefevre talking about why to choose St. Bonaventure University and highlighting some of SBU's core values, rankings, and accreditations. Dr. Pauline Hoffman will provide a brief overview of the St. Bonaventure Giandoli School of Communication and who the online IMC program is designed for. Dr. Lee will discuss why one would choose a Master's in Integrated Marketing Communications and what some of the career impacts are of the IMC degree. Then, Shelley Jack will provide a spotlight on three courses in the curriculum of the online IMC program: IMC 500, Principles of Integrated Marketing Communications, IMC 560, New Media Digital Communications, and IMC 600, Strategic Marketing Management. Gina Heimbecker will then discuss admissions requirements and what the application next steps are. Finally, we will have our question and answer session. I will now go ahead and turn the presentation over to Kristin Lefevre, member of our online admissions team, to discuss why one would choose St. Bonaventure University.
Thank you, Joe. Why choose St. Bonaventure University? SBU is the nation's first Catholic Franciscan university and prides itself on offering a career-focused curriculum while producing graduates who are leaders that make ethical and moral decisions. Next slide, please. SBU core values, discovery. St. Bonaventure steadfastly pursues intellectual, spiritual, and personal growth. Community. SBU believes in an all-inclusive community that values diversity and considers it a strength. Individual worth. SBU treats all members of its community with dignity and strives to help them reach their full potential. Next slide, please. Rankings and accreditation. St. Bonaventure University is accredited by the Middle States Commission on Higher Education. We are ranked number 21 by U.S. News and World Report 2018 Best Colleges, ranked number 5 by U.S. News and World Report 2018 Best School Value. We are ranked top 300 best college values by Kiplinger's Personal Finance and best 382 colleges by the Princeton Review. I will now turn the presentation over to Dr. Pauline Hoffman.
Thank you so much, Kristin. Good afternoon to everybody. I'll tell you a little bit about the Giandoli School of Communication. As you can see, it was founded in 1947 by Dr. Russell J. Giandoli, and it was the Department of Journalism at that time. It's taken on some different incarnations We're now the Jandoli School of Communication. We just changed that name from last year because the program and the school itself have changed considerably since 1947, as one would expect. Right now we have 2 undergraduate majors. We have journalism and strategic communication, and we have 2 graduate programs, one you're hearing about now, the integrated marketing communication, as well as strategic leadership. And we were the first school on campus here to jump into the online arena, so we're pretty excited about that. And we've been teaching students, as we note here, to gather, analyze, and communicate information, pretty much skills valued by every occupation that you're going to get involved with. And we are one of the first schools to offer an integrated marketing communication program in any format. And we did that, my goodness, I think about 15 or 20 years ago. And we've been doing it ever since very well and are now in the online arena. Next slide, please. We do offer this program in a face-to-face format, but also 100% online. And it's a 33-credit program. You may complete that in as little as 1 year, or if you need to take longer, you may do that in 2 years. Certainly, we want to be able to work with each of you individually. So certainly reach out, speak with me, speak with Dr. Richard Lee, who you'll hear from in a second, as well as any of our other coaches and things. As part of the degree, students complete a comprehensive integrated marketing communication plan that they can then showcase to employers that becomes part of the student's own portfolio, and it's a real showpiece. And generally speaking, if someone says to me, what is exactly IMC, I define it in a very, very broad way by saying public relations, advertising, marketing, all rolled into one. And we do use an innovative approach to teaching business communications. Next slide, please. And I'd mentioned that I usually refer to it as public relations, advertising, and marketing because so many corporations now are expecting that you're going to be incorporating and being strategic and taking a look at all of those communication areas in one broad umbrella. So the program is designed for individuals who want to stand out as extraordinary communicators, and particularly in the digital age, communication is so critical. Those who want to understand how to make advertising, PR, social and digital media research, copywriting, design, all work together because they all do need to work together. So you'll learn throughout the program how you can take all of those pieces that you see here and that I just mentioned and incorporate them into a final project that really showcases the work that you're doing. And now I'll turn things over to Dr. Richard Lee, who's our program director.
Dr. Lee, I think you're still on mute.
Okay. Hi, I should be on now. Thanks everyone for logging on. And as I said, I wanted to start off by just picking up on, one of the last comments that Dr. Hoffman made was that, we teach you public relations, advertising, marketing, other tools as well. But I always tell people when they ask me about the program that integrated is the key word, that you're going to master all those skills, but that's not enough. We teach you how to integrate all of them into integrated marketing communication plan. So just kind of keep that in mind. And I know everyone is interested in what happens when you're done, job-wise, and we've been very successful with our graduates. But I want to start off a bit by talking about why you would want a degree in integrated marketing communication. And to me, communication is probably the most exciting field today. As Pauline said, it impacts every industry. So if you can master how to communicate in today's environment, you're going to be very marketable. Companies are looking for people who know how to promote their projects, how to get their word out with all the different tools that are out there today, tools that are changing all the time. So, I've been involved in communication in a number of jobs throughout my career. And one of the things that I love about it is that it's always changing. There's always new challenges. There's always, things to pick up on. So to me, that's why if I was a student looking at graduate programs, integrated marketing communication in today's environment would be very attractive. So in terms of where our graduates go, I always tell people there's a couple of areas. A number of them go to agencies, PR agencies, marketing agencies, advertising agencies, and they work with clients there to use the skills that they've learned in the IMC program. A number of other people end up working in smaller places, and they become the point person for that companies all their communication needs. So those are probably, if we had to categorize where our graduates go, I would say the bulk of them go into, one of those areas. But graduates go all over. We have someone who's went to the Buffalo Bills, worked in community relations. We have people working in all kinds of companies. And one of the most interesting stories, you can see it there in our last bullet, I always tell people that a number of years ago, in one of our classes, there were two students realized they had similar business interests, and they didn't know each other when the course started out, but they got to be friendly, they got to coordinate on some projects, and they eventually quit their full-time jobs, started their own agency, and they're doing really well today. So that's, pretty much anything can happen in the IMC program. So we look forward to your questions, your interest in the program, and again, thanks for the opportunity to spend a few minutes talking about it. And I think Shelley Jack will be our next speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Hi, everyone. This is Shelley Jack. I do teach in the IMC program as an adjunct professor. I have taught full-time in the IMC program, so I'm going to speak to you a little bit today about those courses. I'm also a practitioner, so I have worked in the field for many years now and work currently as an independent, as a marketing consultant, and I have a number of clients in various industries. And I think that's one of the highlights of the program too that you'll find and appreciate is that while you'll find many of the faculty hold terminal degrees in the field, there are also a lot of practitioners, both those who have their terminal degrees as well as those who are have a lot of experience. And so that's something that I always appreciated about the program. And I was a student in the IMC program many years ago, and so I know what it is to be in your situation and trying to make this decision. And it's a big one, so I hope today's session is helpful to you. I'm here to talk a little bit about these three courses that you see listed here: Principles of Integrated Marketing, which is our introductory course, New Media and Digital Communications, where we explore things like social media, search engine optimization, etc., and then Strategic Marketing Management. Next slide, please. So the IMC 500 class is an introductory or foundational class, a review of fundamentals for those of you who have experience in marketing and marketing communications. I think you'll find this is a good review and also a fresh take. For example, people know a lot about the 4 Ps, but we take a different perspective in how we look at the 4 Ps, more of an outside-in versus an inside-out perspective. Thinking about our customers and communications, for example. And also this course has been very helpful for those who are kind of new to the field as well. So whether you are needing a return to the fundamentals or whether you are have been in a different industry and are focused on marketing, I think you'll find this class very helpful. I had a student in class just this last course who was worked her whole life in the field, equestrian field, and so she ended up transitioning into marketing within her industry because through this program. So that's just one example. You'll see elements of advertising, public relations, digital and social media marketing, as well as business communications and direct marketing, not just in this introductory course, but also in the program overall. So if you're wondering, okay, which part of marketing communications am I studying, these are some good groups, ways to think about that and look at that. Of course, you will be understanding and applying these integrated marketing communication concepts, but doing it in a programmatic way. So we're looking at strategy, we're looking at planning, we're looking at branding, target markets, consumer trends, global perspectives, creative messaging, not just talking about each one of the channels. And that's a key tenet in integrated marketing communications, is that we always take a more holistic approach to what it is we're doing as opposed to just going and doing it. So next slide, please. IMC 560 is a class that students are always exceptionally interested in, of course, because this is an area that's radically changing and changes all the time in our field. Looking at how to better manage social media in a more strategic way, talking through all the elements of content marketing, which is so important today, email marketing, website strategy and marketing, search engine optimization and a lot of other elements, paid advertising campaigns, for example. This course is designed to introduce you to, the ongoing developments in digital and social media, as well as give you some of the fundamental approaches that we take. Once again, an emphasis on digital marketing strategy, and this class is pretty dynamic because each time an instructor teaches it, you have to be paying attention to what's happening in the field. And I think this is one of those classes that you'll find immediately useful if you're in the field of marketing communications, immediately applicable to what it is that you're working on, because everybody is trying to better understand how do we do marketing well within the digital framework. Next slide, please. IMC 600 is one of my favorite classes to teach because it emphasizes strategy. And of course, strategy is one of those things that everybody talks about and we know that we need, but it's very difficult to achieve a strategic integrated plan, which is of course a part of what you deliver at the end of this program. So understanding what makes a marketing plan strategic, how the tactics truly apply to the larger marketing and business goals, how the larger plan can be evaluated so that you can prove the success of what you're doing, because again, that's a big criticism in marketing, is that things aren't measurable, or we're not demonstrating that we're paying for ourselves inside the business. So understanding those elements as well. In this strategic marketing course, you will go through all the elements of understanding the outline of what it is that you will deliver in your final thesis, project, and plans book. So this course introduces you to all of those elements and gives you a fundamental understanding of what each one of those is. And of course, you work on and practice each one of the elements in that outline. Of course, we focus on things like marketing strategy, analyzing strategic marketing opportunities, looking at things once again in a more holistic and strategic way. I already said, part of what we accomplish here is applying a detailed strategic planning outline from the marketing objectives, situational analysis, target markets, research, communication strategy, and creative strategy execution as a part of that outline. So just to give you an example of some of the elements within the outline that we think about and work on and develop as a part of this strategy course. And I think that's all for me, yes.
Excellent, thank you. We'll now turn the presentation over to Gina Heimbecker, who will discuss admissions and application.
So the admissions requirements for the Integrated Marketing Communication program will consist of a short essay describing what's attracting you to the IMC field and why you want to pursue it at St. Bonaventure. We are also needing an official transcript that is showing that you have a conferred bachelorate degree from an accredited institution, and we're looking for a minimum of a 3.0 GPA, and we will also need transcripts from all other institutions that were attended. The application next steps would consist of a phone conversation with an admissions advisor, which would be Kristin Lefevre or myself, Gina Heimbecker. You would complete an online application and submit all official transcripts and resume to your admissions advisor. The next term for the IMC program will begin January 15th of 2018. The deadline for applications is December 29th, and you can contact admissions to learn more or to begin your application. The email is admissions@online.sbu.edu, or you could call our toll-free number at 844-424-4960. And now I will turn it back over to Joe for our Q&A portion of this webinar.
Thank you, Gina, and thank you everyone for your presentations. We'll now go ahead and begin our Q&A. Again, please type your questions in the questions box in the GoToWebinar window and click send. You can go ahead and ask questions of any of our speakers and panelists. And let me go ahead and open that question box, and we'll start with this first question. This is for our featured speakers. Question here is, I have an MBA and have been working in marketing for about 10 years. Why should I consider a master's in IMC?
Well, this is Rich. I can start it out, and it's interesting. We had a workshop last night with a number of our professors and IMC students in different segments of the program. And one of the things that came up, we talked about the difference between an MBA and an IMC degree. And I might not put it as bluntly as one of our professors did, but I said in MBA, you learn a defined set of skills, you learn how to check all the boxes. In IMC, you not only check all the boxes, but it's an opportunity to be a bit more creative. We kind of teach you to set yourself apart from the other people you're competing with. If you're competing for a client's project, you have to convince them to invest their money, to invest their company's reputation in what you're doing. So sometimes if you're competing with 4 or 5 other agencies, if you're the more creative one, if you have a plan on a more solid foundation, you're going to be the one who gets the job. So that's kind of one of the reasons that I would see there's a difference between what you would learn in an MBA and what you would learn in an IMC program.
This is Shelley Jack. I just wanted to add to that answer, and I'll give an answer from my perspective as a student. When I was thinking about coming into the IMC program, I had worked in the field for probably 6 years at that point, specifically in marketing, and I was kind of just feeling a little uninspired. And when I took the program, I felt like sort of the top of my head just lifted off, and I saw this like whole new world. My brain was opening up to ideas and principles and concepts that, even though I was working in the field every day, I just hadn't taken, considered those perspectives. And the process of learning and being educated, a deeper dive into things like public relations and marketing strategy and digital marketing planning and search engine optimization, all of these different elements that even though I was working in it every day, you tend to kind of get stuck in your own way of thinking. And so I found that it was very liberating, that my mind was opening up in ways that I completely didn't expect. And so that is, and it just invigorated me. It re-energized my commitment to the field and the things that I wanted to do as a professional, as a marketing person. So I found it to be something that really helped transform my larger perspective on what I wanted to do as a professional.
Excellent. Thank you both. Another question here. How important is the IMC 500 taken as the first class if it's not offered in the current session and one would be switching careers?
Well, this is Rich again. Obviously, we do set the program up so people take that course first. It's a foundation course, as Shelley explained. But we realize that sometimes it's not offered. And there's a few courses that we recommend to students, and students have done this, where they can take without having the prerequisites and then pick up IMC 500 in the next session. So it is important. It's not critical. I would say our program is probably one of the most flexible ones you're going to encounter. We're not the type of people, if the course you need is not offered when you need it, we'll figure out a way for you to get what you need. So hopefully you can take IMC 500 in your first semester. If not, we will find some courses you can take where you won't be behind and you'll be able to keep up with those with your subsequent courses.
Yeah, and I teach, this is Shelley, I teach the IMC 500 course, and I haven't found, in my experience in interacting with students, that they felt like, no one's ever said to me, oh, I can't believe I didn't take this course before I took whatever course. I think that you'll find that, you know, even if you're taking classes before the fundamentals course, if you're doing that and you're doing the IMC 500 after, you kind of just have a sense of, okay, this is how I understand things are kind of all piecing together. So, for example, if you took public relations, but you didn't take the IMC 500 course, you take your course, your deep dive in public relations, and then when you go into the 500 course, you say, all right, now I see how my public relations course fits into the bigger picture of the philosophies and principles behind integrated marketing communications.
Excellent, thank you. Question here. I have a background in marketing, but have not had a lot of experience with digital and social media marketing or campaigns. Does the IMC program focus on this in the curriculum?
This is Shelley Jack. I'll take that one because I think that you'll find even in the classes where we don't have, of course we have a course designated to digital marketing, but digital marketing is so pervasive, so much a part of how we do marketing today, that I think you'll find it in almost every course. It's difficult to even examine brands without looking at how they're executing their marketing efforts online. So yes, I do think that you'll find that digital marketing is part of how we teach in many of the courses.
Okay,
And if I could jump in, this is, oh,
I just wanted to add to that you know, we often in the early stages of the program when students are starting to put together their plans, you know, they'll say, oh, I'm going to use social media, I'm going to use Facebook and Twitter, and we teach you how to use those strategically. It's not enough just to say, I'm going to use Facebook. We want to know specifically how you're going to use Facebook, who you're going to reach, why you're going to reach them. So, you know, that's kind of what we do with every tool in the program. We teach you how to use that tool, but we want you to be specific in how you're going to use it for your client.
And apparently you struck a nerve with that question because we're all excited to jump in to answer it. This is Pauline. I teach, when I am able to teach, I teach the research class, and I was going to mention that even in the research class, you may not think, we use a lot of the digital tools and are constantly looking at different ways to use those tools from a research perspective. So because that field, particularly with big data and analysis and programming even, not that we're programming, but there's a lot there in the research area as well.
Excellent, thank you all. Another question here. I'm currently working in a sales role, but would like to move into a marketing position in my organization. Would the IMC program provide me the knowledge and skills I need to be able to do that?
Sorry, I was on mute. This is Shelley Jack. I can take that. At least my perspective on that is absolutely, and here's why. Your experience in sales is going to be a wonderful benefit because a lot of times marketing students don't understand actually how marketing is connected to sales, and so I think you almost have an advantage when you're coming into the program with sales background because then you have you're sort of the end game. Sales is the end game and marketing has to work very closely with sales. A lot of times we end up working in our silos where marketing is frustrated with sales and sales is frustrated with marketing. And so when you come to the program with a background in sales, you begin to understand why these two areas need to work so closely together, and you just have a unique insight in that regard. And so I think actually that your sales background would be a wonderful complement to the training that you would get and want to have in you know, this aspirational goal of working more in marketing. I think it even kind of can set you apart because while you have the sales background, now you're focusing on you know, the masters in marketing and seeking that marketing position. So it gives you a good combination.
Great, thank you. Another question here for our featured speakers. In your experience, have students been able to apply the knowledge and coursework to their current roles as they are going through and completing the program? And do you know of any examples you might be able to provide?
Okay, this is Rich. I'll start off with that one because this happens quite frequently. You know, students are working someplace. Some of them have their own business, and they apply it, directly to that. You know, sometimes, people are doing a startup business, and they understand what they do for their business, but they don't have the communication and marketing skills. So the degree helps them. Just thinking of specific examples, we have a student now who's, I think, in her last semester. She works for a community college in marketing, and she's going to put together a plan that's going to help them. We had a student working for a travel agency, a corporate travel agency, and her plan was to how to better market what they do. So there's a number. I would say probably close to half of our students, work. Their client is somebody who they either work for or know. And the nice thing about that is when they do their IMC plan, they're not just doing it for academic purposes. They can actually see it, put into practice. I'll just give you one last example. We have a student whose project is a charity softball tournament. She does it to raise money for cancer research in memory of her sister who unfortunately passed away. So she's learning how to better promote, the softball tournament that she does every year. So certainly that's something that students can do and that they often do.
Thank you. Another question here. You've mentioned it a few times, but can you please discuss the campaign project and what the process looks like for starting and completing that?
Okay, this is Rich again. I'll go through that, but I'd also, be interested to hear Shelley's perspective since she went through it as a student. But the campaign project is a real integrated marketing communication plan that every student does for a real client. And it's a way for us to measure that you've not only, mastered every skill in every class, but as I said before, that you can integrate them into a plan. So you'll work on that project. You'll present it in your final semester, but we really encourage students to start as early as possible. And it's to your benefit to do that, because if you identify your client in your first or second semester, when you take subsequent classes, you'll be able to incorporate your work with that client into those classes. If you know who your client is when you're doing research, maybe you can skew your research towards that client. When you get to the creative part, if you know who your client is, instead of just doing ads for that course, you can do ads that are going to be used or incorporated into your book. So you work on it throughout the program. Your final semester pretty much is dedicated to working independently or in partnership with professors to finalize your plan. And at the end, you'll present it to a panel of 3 professors who will serve as judges. They, in essence, become the decision makers in the company that you're presenting to. And as I said earlier, your job is to convince them to invest their money, to invest their client's reputation in your plan. So you'll present it. We do formal presentations for the online students. We do them via video. And then you'll get feedback. Along with the actual presentation, you'll put together a campaign book, which we do electronically. You can save it as a PDF. We'll review that. It's a lot of give and take. Through that last semester, you're going back and forth with professors. We're reviewing what you have, giving you recommendations. Even after you do your presentation, we give you a final set of recommendations, and you'll have a few weeks after that to wrap up, to get your book up to, really, we hope everyone graduates with an A-level book. We want to work with you to get your book up to the best possible level. So we give you a lot of feedback, and that's what you'll be doing in your final campaign project.
This is Shelley Jack. I would just add a couple of things. One, after you take the strategic marketing class, which I think most students take generally towards the beginning of the program, you'll find that you have, as I had mentioned before, that outline of all of the elements that are expected as a part of your final project. And really, at that point, you are able to begin working on an integrated marketing communications plan. If you work in the industry, you know that very rarely do you have a whole year or a year and a half to work on putting together an integrated marketing communications plan. Usually you have maybe a month if you're lucky. So of course you're a student and you're exploring these ideas, and many of you just beginning, but you do have time. What happens, and the mistake that's very common, is that students wait to the very end to truly get serious about their final projects, and that's where you run into trouble. I can also tell you that another area that's so critical is the importance of understanding research, and not just doing research, but understanding what it is that you're trying to accomplish through that research, the questions that you need answered in order to address the problem that you're trying to solve in your integrated marketing communications plan. So, you know, procrastinating or not having a good understanding of your research, I think, are areas that will make the process harder. But it's a very doable process, especially if you are serious about it and start thinking and kind of working on each one of the sections as you go along and as you take the courses and you learn more about each area.
Thank you both very much. Another question here regarding curriculum. Is IMC 100 an internship?
I didn't hear the whole question. Could you just repeat it, please?
I'm sorry about that. The question is regarding the IMC 700 course. They're asking if that is an internship.
No, it's not an internship. That's really where you'll be working on the final stages of your plan. By the time student takes IMC 700, he or she will have taken all the other IMC courses. So that's where you start taking what you've learned in each course, what you know about your client, and putting your IMC plan and book together so that by the end of 700, your book is pretty much complete. And then in the next and final course, IMC 800, you work on your presentation and actually do your presentation and final revisions. So it's not an internship.
Great, thank you. Another question here. This individual says, I work as a trade marketing manager for a distribution company. What do you think in what direction I might be able to use the IMC program within trade marketing as it's more connected to work with the local market?
Hi, this is Shelley Jack. No, sorry for the delay. Once again, I have to put myself on mute. I think what you will find is that the program is not specific to an industry or to a vertical. I think that you will find in the program that the principles and the application are the fundamentals of marketing apply across different industries. Now, of course, do we explore different aspects such as B2C and B2B and different types of industries, for-profit, non-profit, local versus some of these larger markets? Absolutely. But I don't think that you have to be concerned about the specific industry or vertical that you work in and how it's going, if the IMC program is going to be applicable to that. Of course, we're not able to offer specialization in all these different industries, but I think one of the things I have always enjoyed about my career in marketing is that there's so much application and flexibility to your marketing knowledge, and you can learn things in some industries and take those best practices and apply them to your own. So even if we're not specifically talking about your industry or your area of expertise, there are principles and best practices, for example, that we take from public relations and we apply in social media, and it's a great way to look at that with a fresh perspective. So I don't think you need to be concerned about, is the program a good fit for my particular industry? I think it's more, you have to ask yourself the question, what are my larger goals? What is it that I seek to accomplish with this degree? Personally as well as professionally, of course, and then, is it a fit for me?
Great, thank you. Another question here, is it possible to do an internship as a part of the graduate program?
We have done internships on a very limited basis, and one of the reasons we don't do a lot of them is because so many of our students are actually working in a related field, so we don't really feel, it's fair for someone to, say, take an internship and get credit for that when someone else is probably doing the same thing in their full-time job. That said, there are circumstances, as I said earlier, we're flexible, we're open to ideas, and we have worked out internships for some students. So if someone is interested in an internship, they should speak with me, and we'll look at it, we'll work with you, and if it's doable, we'll set up the internship for you.
Thank you. Question here: do you know how many students are currently enrolled in the program?
This is Pauline. I'll jump in. I don't have the numbers right at my fingertips. I could certainly get that information to whomever asked. In our face-to-face program, we have about 15 to 20 students in each cohort, and we usually have 1 to 2 cohorts running. In our graduate programs, and Rich, I'm not sure if you can jump in with a better number. I think that I think we have 60 or so students. I don't know if you have a better number.
Yeah, that number sounds like it's in the ballpark. I was just gonna, I have an email list that I send out to all the students, but that kind of has online and in person together. I'm just gonna check that file, but I'm pretty sure somewhere in like 70, 75, 80, that's where we are in terms of online students.
Okay, we have a question here. Is it possible to start the online program and then transition to the on-campus program?
Yes, that is possible. Normally we have people doing, the opposite of that, but the courses are the same. We have everything standardized now. Everything is a 7-week course. When we first got into online, we had different lengths for the online courses and the in-person courses. We have a number of students who might start here, particularly our students who are St. Bonaventure undergraduates, take a year of courses and then finish up online. So, the courses are interchangeable. So if somebody, for whatever reason, started off online and wanted to finish up in person, that would work.
Okay, thank you. That actually looks like it is our last question for the day. Not seeing any more. So we will go ahead and move along, and we'll actually end a little early since no other questions are coming in. Thank you again to our speakers and to our panelists and to all of you for taking the time to join us today. We hope you found today's information session helpful and informative and that your questions were answered. You can always reach out to your online admissions advisor for any assistance. Again, today's presentation and the Q&A was recorded, and that recording will be emailed out to you. You will also be able to access it through our website at online.sbu.edu. Thank you again, and have a great rest of your day.